Welcome to Life Stories with me, Des Tong. The great thing about this job is I get to meet some of the legends of the music industry, and some of them are good friends of mine as well. This man has been dubbed the man with the golden voice. Welcome, Paul Carrack.
Yeah, Des, how are you doing?
Fantastic.
I don't know who dubbed me with that, but you know, it's a bit of a cross to bear. It's usually not always golden, but anyway.
And we're here in the wonderful surroundings of the Symphony Hall.
Fantastic.
You're doing 2 nights.
Yeah.
Sold out.
Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, it is a really, really beautiful venue, as you say. Mind you, we still get a few people say, we prefer the Robin 2. You know, so fair enough, you know.
I'm going to hit you with this one. 1975, I was with Emil Ford and the Checkmates, and we were up in Spennymoor.
Okay.
And we decided, because we'd finished early, we were going to go down to the Top Hat.
Right.
And who was on but Ace?
Well, I don't even remember that. I remember a lot of gigs, but yeah. Well, I remember doing gigs. I remember doing a TV show actually when Sad Cafe were on, and of course you were the bass player in Sad Cafe. Yeah. And Supersonic, I think it was back in the day. Yeah. And there was another time as well. I think we were playing in Liverpool, and we'd just had our hit, our first hit, our hit. Yeah. And it was somebody's bright idea to have Sad Cafe supporting us. Not a good idea. You know.
Of course, you know, that the connection carried on, didn't it? Because Paul Young and you were in Mike and the Mechanics.
Yes, we were, back in the day. That was, you know, a good few years later. Yeah. But Mike and the Mechanics started out with Mike recording some tracks, and he got in various singers to sing. Yeah. And Paul and myself, amongst others actually. But when we went on the tour, it became, you know, Paul and I were the lead singers until, of course, Paul sadly suddenly passed away. And after that, I think, you know, that's when I left. And they were fantastic times. As you well know, Paul was quite a character. Right, okay, we're going to go life stories now. So, you were born in Sheffield. Yeah. And I was reading up about you. Your first love was drums, wasn't it? Well, I loved music, and I loved all the sort of pop music that was going about. And there happened to be, I mean, we lived at the back of our shop, and there was an attic. And in the attic were a few bits and bobs that my dad had dabbled with in his, his younger days. There was a snare drum, a bit of a bass drum, and I just made up a kit, cardboard boxes and what have you, and used to bash along to a wind-up gramophone, actually. Brilliant. So in those days, what were you about? How old are you? Well, I mean, I don't know what age I started that at, but I started getting really keen when the Mersey beat thing. Right. Actually, before that, it was the Shadows. Shadows, actually. Shadows, yeah. And all that. Right. No, the soul came later. It kind of went the Shadows, the Mersey beat, and then in my teenage, it was, you know, soul music. When you were at school, did you get help? You know, was there like a music thing from school? You know what? It wasn't great, to be honest. I mean, it was the first comprehensive school in Sheffield. It was a massive school, tons of resources, but there wasn't a lot going on musically. I mean, we did have a little band at school, and that's how I started, and we played the school concerts and what have you, and that was great fun. But when it come to the sort of O-level time and choosing your options, music wasn't available. Yeah. So I didn't really learn anything musically at school. I mean, it's a question I ask a lot of people, and it's. I mean, kids today. Yeah. It's a. Well, not only that, but I mean, if only there'd have been YouTube back in the day. Because I mean, you're probably like me. The only way I learned was listening to records. Yeah. And trying to figure out how did it. Oh. Yeah. I had no training whatsoever. Motown was mine. Yeah. And I saw a thing about you said that.
you bought an organ and you got in a soul band with an organ. I mean, I remember we had an organist. He had a Hammond C3. It took 6 of us to carry it.
Yeah, well, I would have literally sold my soul for Tev. One of these. This is C3.
Yeah.
But no, first of all, I started with a cheap old Selma thing. It wasn't quite as expensive as the Vox Continental.
Oh yeah.
Which was the holy grail.
Was that the black keys and the white? Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, I didn't know anything. Somebody showed me a few chords and I just tried to figure it out from there.
Yeah. So then you sort of, because you were in a band early days, then Ace came along, didn't it?
Well, I mean, from leaving school I was in bands. And
was it Warm Dust?
I try and keep that skeleton
sorry.
No, it's okay. I left school, we were like a cover band. We went off to Germany and did that whole thing and playing in the top 10 club in Hamburg for a month at a time. And then while we were over there, we met up with there was another band on at the top 10 in residence like us, and we got on really well with these guys, and we started getting into proper music and progressive music and all that. And that's when we formed this band Warm Dust, which was pretty awful, the records but Warm Dust eventually fizzled out. We had all our gear nicked, I think, and I thought, well, that's it. But we started this little band Ace out of the ashes, playing in pubs in London, and somehow or other we managed to get a little record deal with a small label, their first release, and it was How Long. Yeah, so that was a monster bit of luck.
And the first cover you ever had was Bobby Womack, wasn't it?
That's right, it was,
you know what I mean, wow. I love Bobby Womack's voice.
I know, I mean, I couldn't believe my luck, really. But it's been covered a few times by a few people.
Yeah.
But that was the first one.
Band that I used to play with, the guys used to, just love doing it. In fact, they will be killing themselves now, because I'm standing here talking to you. I remember talking to Colin Blunston, and he said that, he was in a band, he was a singer, and that was it. And then he went to America, and they did this big hit. They came back, and suddenly he was broke because he didn't write the songs.
Yeah.
So what made you get into songwriting?
Well, it wasn't the money, because I didn't know how that worked either. I mean, I signed some rubbish contracts back in the day. Even the one with How Long. So we didn't see the kind of money that we could have. I mean, that song like that nowadays could set you up for a long time. It's a song that still lasts all that time. But in the old Dusters, in the Warm Dust, we used to make up pieces of music. We'd all do it collectively, kind of. Then we'll go to this bit and that bit. And these were not really songs; they were long, instrumental type things. But with Ace, that's when I kind of started writing actual songs, and everybody in the band wrote a bit, and if you wrote the song, you sang it.
Right.
So that's really when I started singing lead. I hadn't sung lead before then.
When did you suddenly find that you had this really soulful voice?
Thank you for saying it anyway. But as a kid, I had a pleasant voice. Everybody say, oh, he's got a lovely voice and all that. But when I was in bands, I didn't sing, because we usually had a front guy, a Paul Young type guy who was, a front man and a singer. So I only ever sang backups. But as I say, with Ace, we were all ugly, so it didn't matter. we all sang, and How Long was a good start, because it was really in a good area for me. But that was only the start of learning how to sing, because it takes a long time, I think, to find your voice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the bass player, so I don't bother about all that sort of thing. Never learn the words, I don't understand the titles. Another song that you wrote is Love Will Keep Us Alive.
We're okay.
Now, I mean, that's the Eagles covered that, didn't they?
They did. I've got to point out that's a three-way composition. Peter Vale, Jim Capaldi, and I wrote that. We cobbled that one together.
Right.
And I was actually working with Timothy Schmidt and Don Felder.
Right.
This was, as you know, members of the original Eagles. And this was in the time when they had split up,
and couldn't get back together, and they contacted me with a view to forming a band, and I went over to California, took some songs with me, and we wrote some songs over there.
Right.
And that was one of the songs, but I was singing it. Anyway, cut a long story short, the Eagles got back together, and I got a call from Timothy saying, I need a song to sing on the album we're making. Is it okay if I do Love Will Keep Us Alive? And we all said, yeah, of course it is.
Go on then. Not only do you, I mean, you know, your songwriting, your singing, but you are, what I was really intrigued to see was all the sessions that you've done on like keyboards, you know, things like Elton John, the Pretenders.
Yeah, it looks quite good on paper. I mean, it was, it's over a long stretch of time. I was never one of those guys that, you know, were doing sessions every day.
Right.
I just thought that was, it was after Ace had split up and all the rest. I just figured that was, all the guys I thought were really good players, that's what they did sessions. So I was, by luck or whatever, got involved in these doing sessions, but I never felt very secure. I always thought, oh, they're going to suss me out any minute that I don't know what I'm doing. You know?
Yeah.
But over the years, you know, I have played with some fantastic people, and I'm playing with Clapton at the, you know, these days, which is amazing. That's just fantastic. But I was thinking actually upstairs, because I thought you might ask me back about the days in Birmingham and all the rest of it, because I remember playing at a place called Mother's.
Yep. It's just down the road from me. I live in Erdington.
And I was playing there with the Dusters, and we got to this gig early and we set up all our gear. And then a couple of roadies turned up and said, well, you're going to have to move that, mate. You're going to have to move that. This other guy's coming on. And blah, blah, blah. So, okay, anyway, they brought an upright piano on, kit of drums, a bass amp. And this guy we'd never heard of who brought the hat, it was Elton John.
All right.
Yeah.
This absolutely killed me when I read it. Morrissey.
Yeah.
You played organ on the Smiths, didn't you?
I played on their first album. I think there's 3 or 4 tracks. I played piano on some and a bit of organ.
He describes your organ playing as Reginald Dixon on acid.
Well, that's what he said it sounded like. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I like that. Yeah, I'll keep that one.
Got to be a great compliment, that. And but the
Pretenders.
Pretenders.
It was a compliment.
Pretenders, Thin Line Between Love and Hate.
Yes.
You played that. I mean, some great tracks.
Yeah. I know. Actually, I played on, as you mentioned, an Elton John track called Something in the Way You Look Tonight. And, yeah, but as I say, kind of few and far between. I never...
Yeah, but you seem to be able to pick the right ones.
Well, I've got away with it because, like I say, I'm not a technical expert. My kind of knowledge, I would say, is fairly basic, you know, and technique. But I've got good ears and instincts, and for what's needed. And you know, it's not always, you know, it doesn't always have to be fantastic.
Less is more.
Exactly.
Less is more. So, Mike, and let's get into Mike and the Mechanics. That must have been a bit of a, because I remember Youngie telling me, you know, oh, I've got this gig with Mike Rutherford, you know, and it was like you were sort of like not chalk and cheese, but total opposites, weren't you? You know, you did the sort of soft stuff, and Youngie did the, you know, the rock stuff. Yeah,
I mean, well, that's doing. Always think that kind of does Youngie a bit of a disservice because he also could sing.
Oh,
a
absolutely,
ballad,
yes, absolutely.
You know.
Well, Every Day Hurts was a classic example, wasn't it?
Exactly. But I guess as personalities and what we brought to the different songs, yes, because obviously Paul was a very outgoing guy. He was a terrific frontman, as good as any, I reckon. But you know, so he had that element to him, which I didn't. I had never had any kind of show like or anything like that. Yeah. So I think we were the perfect foil for each other. Yeah. We were completely different, but we had a lot in common. We were both northern lads from bands. Yeah. And so it was a funny thing. I think we were both felt a little bit insecure about the other, you know, because, you know, we kept each other on our toes. Yeah. Because we, you know, there's a little bit of competition in a way. Yeah. Nice. You know. Yeah. But you know, I had a lot of respect for Paul, and I think he did for me too. So, and it was a, you know, unbelievable shame that he passed away so young. And
there's another band I wanted to ask you about as well, Squeeze.
yeah,
because that was like a. I quite like their songwriting. Very storytellers, aren't they?
Brilliant. I mean, I couldn't write those kind of lyrics to save my life. I mean, Chris Difford is my favourite lyricist, actually. I always write a song or two with him for every album. And as you say, that descriptive thing. I mean, my stuff's all Moon in June and Love and
like
all that.
Up the Junction and things like that.
But Chris and his storytelling and his descriptive stuff is just brilliant.
Yeah.
We do a song, as I say, there's always one or two songs on the album I've written with Chris, and on the current one there's this song called Bet Your Life, which is about a compulsive gambler, and as I say, it's just the kind of lyric I'd never come up with. So great.
And talking about your new album, I was saying that you've now got your own label. So you control what you want to do. If you want to do a covers album, you do a covers album. That must be great. Time consuming, I would have thought.
It's very time consuming. I had no idea what I was letting myself in for, to be honest. But I think it was probably the best move I've made. As I say, same with leaving Mike and the Mechanics, because I wanted to be my own man, my own boss. And it was obvious that record business was changing, and so it was in year 2000, that's the first album I did. But as I say, didn't have a clue really about the nuts and bolts of getting a record out and to market and promoting it and all the rest of it. But we've found out, we've done it step by step, and it's worked out really well.
And your son's involved as well, isn't he?
He's a drummer in the band.
Drummer,
well, we've two drummers.
Yes.
Dean Duke, my original drummer, has been with me over 20 years, and it was with his blessing that Jack became part of the band. He was playing in the opening acts prior to that, percussion and stuff, and then I had this idea to use two drummers at the end of the set, to sort of a bit of a lift, and it worked really well, and everybody said, well, let's just get him in, get him in the band, and it's been fantastic for him as a musician and as a person. He's good. And the thing keeps going, doesn't it? I mean, sold out here. Well, we hope so. I mean, that's the thing. It's very hard to stand still in this game, as you know. So you've got to keep moving, and every tour we do is a little bit better than the last one. We're all getting better, and the production values just go up a little notch each time, and it's been great, actually.
Got to ask you one question. Over My Shoulder, which you co-wrote, didn't you, with Mike? Whose idea was the whistle solo?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I'm a compulsive whistler. I used to drive Chris Difford mad in the Squeeze days. He bought me some bird seed once. But no, I did, when I was doing the lead vocal, it came to what I thought would be probably a guitar solo or something. And just while I was doing the vocal, I just did the whistling, and they kept it in. So that's how that came about.
Because I mean, that was like whistling Jack Smith.
It's all coming back, mate. Whistling, this is the future.
Paul, it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you. I really appreciate you taking time out.
Pleasure.
I know how busy you are. All the best, and let's hope we see you next time you come back to Birmingham.
Okay, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure.